Check this out.
We're rolling.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 53 of the Jiu Jitsu Dummies podcast. We're sponsored by Fightback CBD. Get 20% off your CBD order at fightbackcbd.com with code JJD. My name is Milton Campus, purple belt, training out of South Florida. I guess this is the first episode I'm not saying my school. We'll figure that out.
Yeah, just move on.
You can check me out on Instagram at UncleMiltyBJJ. The Instagram for the show is at Jiu Jitsu Dummies. Bo behind the camera. Say hello, Bo.
Hello, Bo.
Our guest today is this man, Joseph Shane Rivera, also known as Zezinho.
How you guys doing?
How you doing, brother?
Good, man.
Man, you're early, bro. You got
Come on.
Wise ass.
you got to do. You got to do it.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you coming down quick. I usually send a message the night before, like, "Hey, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow," and I didn't do that because I talked to Drew separately. He said he couldn't come, and I think I got confused with like, "Hey, I always send that final like, hey, see you tomorrow, right?" Just in case. But I appreciate you rushing down.
Thank you for
you're coming off. What'd you say? An 18-hour shift?
Yep. All night last night, man, and then it started at 11 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I got home about 6:30 this morning, and then
did you get some sleep? You get some sleep?
I went straight to training.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. When we just spoke by chat, you sounded like you were on the road. You're like, I'm coming now.
Yeah, I was flying here, so I was like,
so you were already out and about.
I was picking up some Chipotle.
All right, man. All right. Well, welcome. I'm going to call you Zezinho for the rest of the show because it seems like that's what everybody calls you. Let me give a couple of quick shout outs to our sponsors. All right,
man.
DD214 Fightwear at DD214 Fightwear. Gear for the war on PTSD. Get 15% off your online order at DD214BJJ.com. Please check out their Soul Armor gi. I know they have a few left. In the liner of the gi, it's got the names of fallen soldiers. So it's a really cool gi. They do a lot to support the veteran community. Warriors Next Adventure as well. They're a veteran nonprofit helping veterans overcome PTSD through recreational therapy. Check them out at warriorsnextadventure.com. You can donate through the site as well. Huge shout out to Flow and Roll at flow_and_roll on Instagram. Get 20% off your online t-shirt, rash guard, or gi order with code JJD at flowandroll.com. We're working on a t-shirt with them that we're going to start actually having our shirts out at the events that they go to. But check them out for all their gi and no gi gear. Say that 5 times fast.
Come on, get it out.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share wherever you're watching or listening. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to click the bell, and you get notifications each time we launch new episodes. So look, I'm rushing. My bad. I'm rushing because I have an axe throwing event to go through, and I've got an hour drive home. And my wife said, "You better be home by 6:30."
Totally understand, man.
So I'm rushing. I wanted to rush through that. My bad.
I like the way you refer to murder as axe throwing.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning. Let's just. You're a black belt.
I am
under Ricardo Liborio.
Yes, sir.
Who is he? Also, your godfather?
I always say that's like my godfather. He took me under my wing,
all right,
and was just like, I'm like, yeah, it's my godfather, and he tells everybody.
Yeah. So you are a first degree
black belt. Mm-hmm.
How did you get your start in jiu-jitsu?
Man, so it's kind of rough in the beginning.
Let's do it.
So I went through a really bad divorce.
Okay.
And before jiu-jitsu, I actually trained in shoot fighting under a guy named Bart Vale. You got to look him up, man. Old school guy.
Yeah.
And I did that when I was really young, and just got into that. And one day I was just sitting on the couch after this divorce. I was a single father raising this kid on my own.
Really?
And, my buddy at the time, his name was Brock. He worked the front desk at American Top Team, but not the main academy, at an affiliate over there with this Marcus Aurelio. Remember him from UFC?
I know the name.
Marcus Aurelio and Tiago Alves had a school in Hollandale.
Okay, yeah.
So I walked in there and I met this guy named Judo Joe. It's brown belt. And, just really
Great
cool.
name.
And one day he was like, "Man, you got to go check out Coconut Creek."
Yeah.
So I went over there. It was a white belt, and I met Liborio.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, man, the first time I ever met Liborio. You know when you go to the gym, you see these old guys with like the gray hair, and you're like, oh, they gave him a black belt because he's just
Not
he's
this one.
this guy. So I'll never forget. I went up to Libo and I was like, hey, sir, you want to train? Like, because they were to partner up, and I didn't know at the time. And he goes, yeah, stand up. Man, this guy threw me, and I landed like 10 feet away.
So was that because like the classic like white belt just asks a black belt to train, and he did it on purpose?
Just wanted to do judo takedowns. And I landed on my head, and I got up. I was like, oh my god, like who is this guy? Oh, that's Liborio. I was like, okay.
He's he's credited with being one of the founding members of American Top Team, right?
And Brazilian Top Team.
And Brazilian Top
Yes,
Team.
sir.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know, like Bo over there. Yeah, I mean, like that's I mean, getting your black belt from Liborio is, that's a proud statement that you get to make for the rest of your life. It's an honor. Yeah, I mean,
and not only that, he gave me his black belt.
I read that.
Yeah, it was like
that's a big
it
deal.
It was wild.
Do you still wear that? Do you still have it? Do you have it though?
I have.
You have it. Okay. I don't. Sometimes with that, when you get a big name like that gives you the belt, I'm like, I wonder if they got to give it back. Like, did they give it back?
So like, I remember when he gave it to me. It wasn't a ceremony. It was just a regular night of training. He showed up, and he stood up and said, "Hey, Zezinho, tell everybody what it's like to be a black belt." What are you talking about?
Wow.
And he just took it off and gave it to me. I was like, wow, in front of everybody. And I got promoted the same day Charles Rosa from the UFC got his black belt.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's a good friend, too. And it was really nice,
Yeah.
And he gave it to me. And I'll never forget Hector Lombard came up to me. And he goes, hey, you got all the power of Liborio now when you put the belt on. I was like, hey.
That's why you don't wash it, right? Right. We have the debate here about the belt washing.
I've been listening.
All right, I'll ask you now. I usually save it for the very last question. Do you wash your belt or do you not wash your belt? You don't wash your belt. Okay.
I don't.
All right. The last we had Wagner on a few episodes ago when he was he was sitting right here. His wife was there. And I've never felt more ashamed of myself to admit that I washed my belt. He just looked at me like I had four heads, so it wasn't the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it the old school, like, hey?
I think I came up with a lot of the old school guys, like in the day. So it was always just like, oh, your blood is on that, your sweat's on that thing. I'm
your
like,
opponent's blood and sweat.
I'm not washing this.
Powers in the belt.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, hashtag powers in the belt.
Yeah.
We'll throw that up on the screen. So go back. So you get divorced. You're a single dad. Shoot fighting.
Yeah,
you start shoot fighting.
That was when I was really young, and so I met Liborio. And I remember I'm like, I'm going to come back the next day. I tried it out, and let me tell you, man, when I showed up there, it wasn't like how it is now. You know what I mean? It wasn't like all these people that signed up. I probably had like maybe 8 people in a class.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And some of these people were like big name people.
I mean, what are we talking? How many years ago are we talking?
I started, I think it was like 05 or something like that, So
that's when it was still like, hey, Jiu-Jitsu, isn't that UFC stuff, right? That's what people were saying.
I remember my class, like JZ was there. He was a brown
Cavalcante?
belt at the time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Amazing guy, by the way. Such a great guy. And, had Renato Tavares teaching us. We have this guy named Shark. If you don't know who he is, man, check him out. Okay. Shark was a great coach. He still is a great coach. And I just remember like walking out after that class, just throwing up in the bush.
Really?
And then like I went back the next day, did it again, walked out to the bush and threw up again. And then like I remember like my 4th day, I was like, man, I looked at the sky, said, God, if I need to be here, please let me get through this because I don't want to come back and do this. And after that, I was just like hooked. And then I developed a good relationship with Liborio. I guess he saw something in me and like just took me under his wing. And
that's awesome.
Me and this guy, this kid, Tyler, he's a good guy, man. So and we started competing, and that was it.
Yeah. So fast forward. We talked about it briefly when you came in. You're in law enforcement now.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of, I don't want to say what came first, but was it always something that you wanted to do?
So my father's in law enforcement.
Okay.
And military.
Okay.
I tried to go to the military. I was really young, and I remember I was into skateboarding, and I went skateboarding and I jumped off these stairs and I shattered my left heel.
Oh man.
And I was in the Navy, like signing up for the Navy and stuff. And at that time, they're like, "What are you doing?" Like, we're not going to take you now. I was like, "Oh, what am I going to do?" I ended up working in hospitals, and I ended up becoming a behavior therapist, working with psychiatric patients. And that was nice, and I did that for many years. And just one day I was like, man, I'm going to try out and be a cop, like my dad did.
Yeah.
And I just did it. I don't know. It just happened, and I did it. I got in the game late. Yeah. But it worked.
What age did you start?
I started in 2019.
How old were you?
I'm 40. I'll be 43 next month, so like 40.
Yeah. 40. Oh, wow. It's not easy once you get into the late 30s.
Well, your dad was a...
My dad was a cop.
Okay.
Took the test in New York City, NYPD.
Wow.
My dad was a transit police officer, NYPD T, and NYTPD.
Okay.
They actually had two different departments back in the day. And then he retired right before the departments merged. So then now it's all NYPD. I took the test at 19, got one wrong, was there. I had dropped out of college, and Mayor, who's this? Who was New York's mayor? Giuliani came in, and he changed the rule where you had to have at least a 2-year degree. So I did like a year and a half of school. Girlfriend got pregnant, dropped out, didn't finish. I was very high on the list. Wasn't going to get the call unless I went back to school. So then I didn't do it again. It was 19. Right. My dad was like, "Let's do this. Get in there. Take all the government exams. Be post office. Be a cop. Do something with the pension." He's always had that in my head.
Become FBI.
So what did I do? I wound up like selling insurance, becoming a stockbroker. Then at 25, I moved to Florida. In my late 30s, I think at like 36, I was like, had really good paying jobs in sales, and I was just so unhappy. Right. And I was just like, I really want to be a cop. I really want to help people. I want to do something good. And hey, I want to be like my dad, right? And I started taking the test, and they were just all looking at me like, "You realize you're 36, right? Like you realize like this is a little late for you." And I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu, so I didn't have military credentials. Right. I didn't have jiu-jitsu or self-defense, and it was just like, didn't have the best credit, which I like fixed, which I write as part of the interview process. Yeah. Like again, 36. I was a business owner, closed a business, working for other people. So I wasn't like the best candidate, and then I just gave up on it, and then I opened up a business again and went from there. But it wasn't meant to be. Right. But I'm very proud of my dad. I talk about him every chance we get. As a matter of fact, and this is a great question for you. So my parents' wedding anniversary, 51st wedding anniversary or August 15th.
Well, congratulations.
We went to the Hard Rock, and we were just shooting the shit. And I always talk about this on the show, Dad. Was there any continuing education for you as it relates to, like, physical health, anything other than shooting? Nothing. There was nothing like jiu-jitsu. There was no physical education or continuing education requirements for him ever. He's on the force for 23 years.
Wow.
What is it like now? Has that changed, at least in your department?
Well, in my department, I can say, like, we have a great training unit there. My sergeant, great guy. He actually came and trained jiu-jitsu with me a couple times. Yeah. And then we have another guy in there. It's a brown belt under Valente Brothers. Okay. And he's in the training department. So they're really big on, like, hey, you know what? Like,
but it's trained on your own, or is it sanctioned by the department?
We have some mandatory training requirements that have to be updated every so often. But it's really good, and we're really big. We focus really big on training. Now, with that being said, our department also focuses really big on community policing, which I like because coming from a behavior health background. I feel like more if you could go and speak to somebody and spend that extra 15 or 20 minutes, you can avoid so many problems. Yeah. Just hear somebody out.
Human
That's
connection.
all you have to do. It doesn't matter what they've done. You just hear them, listen to their story. And about me doing this now, I could tell you about probably 90-something% of the time you end up, hey man, resolving the issue just because you took the extra time to hear what they had to say.
So listen to what they say. A lot of people just want to be heard. Right?
Absolutely.
So again, to clarify, so what's the requirement in the police department? Is there like an hourly requirement, monthly, weekly, annually?
Well, yeah, it's whatever the FDLE puts out.
Okay.
Like you have to follow
Florida
that.
Department of Law Enforcement,
And then,
right?
Yes, and
They put
then
out
the
guidelines.
sergeants will send out a email and say, this is the training that's available. Sign up for
Okay.
this. Like I just did a training now called Combative Offenders with he's a black belt too. His name's Freddie Trillo.
Oh, Freddie. I know Freddie. We've had him on the show.
Great guy, man.
Had him on the show when we were doing it in my house.
Okay. Great dude, right?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I was just with him down there, and he's like, man, like.
Shout out to Freddie. We told him, I asked him to come back on the show because he just put out a BJJ Fanatics law enforcement instructional. So, Freddie, you're welcome to come back on the show. Congratulations
Yeah,
on the instructional.
Yeah.
And love to have him back.
Great guy.
We had him on when we were in my house.
Like episode 13.
Yeah,
or
in the
something,
teens,
yeah.
in the teens,
Great,
you know.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so love to have him on. So you went to train with him.
So, yeah, I guess everything he's showing on that instructional, he showed us. And,
Yeah.
and great stuff, you know.
Great dude, very
and
knowledgeable.
Super nice guy.
Did he tell you his story? Do you know the background that he almost got killed as a rookie?
Yep.
Right?
He told
I mean,
me all
Yeah,
of
that's
that.
a hell
story.
of a story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go find that
And-
episode,
and-
everyone,
and let me
if you
tell
can.
That guy trains every day. I
Yeah.
mean, for his age, he's putting in more work than some world champions.
He did. He
really
did his.
is.
And he called it this. He did like a David Goggins video the other day. I don't know if you saw it on Instagram. He was like running and he's talking and like this, like the text says like I'm doing my David Goggins and like he's talking to. I'm like at first I was like, man, David Goggins is a little different today. And so he's a good dude. Yeah,
Absolutely.
everything you see on his Instagram, he's always freaking training, man.
Always.
Yeah.
Him and there's another guy too. I don't know if you know Ruben.
RBJJ. Like yeah, I know. You know Ruben, Drew, all those guys, right? Those guys all know each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a SWAT.
Yeah, we've talked to him about coming on as well. He's just he's always busy. You know, he's always got something going on.
High level jiu-jitsu and just great guys. I'm glad to see a lot of jiu-jitsu now in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Because I believe it's actually helping.
Yeah.
You know,
So I mean, I think hats off to the Gracies. Henner and Hedon for what they've been doing. I know there's I just got to watch the clip, but they got featured on Brian Gumbel on HBO.
On HBO.
I don't watch any sports so other than jiu-jitsu and UFC. So real sports with Brian Gumbel.
Yep.
They did a 20-minute segment with Hedon and Henner and talking about jiu-jitsu for law enforcement.
Why do you say that? Because our mutual friend Roberto texted that to me today. Hey, watch this. And I looked at it for a little bit.
I got to watch the whole thing. I actually wound up finding it it's like I think it's a 17-minute clip or segment. And it's here. It's happening. It's actually happening. It's nice to see it.
Really good.
It's a long time coming, but they've done a great job at promoting and pushing it for law enforcement.
They do a great job.
Yeah.
Those guys are really involved.
So let's talk about something that's going on in the jiu-jitsu world. You and I have kind of chatted about it a little bit here and there. The sexual assault allegations, and it's not just fight sports anymore. It's happening across jiu-jitsu. It's happening across martial arts. I said on one of the last episodes, this isn't a fight sports problem. It's not a martial arts problem. It's a societal problem. But for us, it's in the martial arts community.
Absolutely.
People wind up, young girls specifically, wind up looking up to these, their black belts, their instructors, and they're being, violated by somebody who they put their trust in. Thoughts?
They do, and it's not only girls; it's little boys, whoever it is. Like, I mean, think about it. Like, and there's growing dudes at the gym that see some black belt world champion walking, they're like, oh my god, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So imagine that girl being like, wow, I get to train with this, and then that happens. I don't like to put anybody on blast or anything like that, and it's just sad to see this happening right now, and cover-ups and all that stuff. It's just, hopefully everything works itself out and we can, as a community, grow from this.
Yeah, I put out a post for about the U.S. Center for Safe Sport.
Yes.
I forget it. I think it's .org. U.S. Center for SafeSport.org or SafeSport.org. I know it forwards you to their the main site. What I liked about it and why I put it out was not only the certification. Great, it gives a certification. Anybody can pass the certification. You could still be a bad dude, right? You could still be a bad person.
Correct.
They'll keep a database. You can report allegations to Safe Sport, and they'll keep a record of it.
Absolutely.
And they'll investigate. And from what I understand, as I'm learning more and more about it, this really came from the sexual assault allegations in the gymnastics world.
In the Olympics,
it was born from the Olympics, and now it's open to all sports. So any organization, local, something small and local or huge and worldwide like jiu-jitsu could be using this to get certified. I know they use it for like Olympic judges. I've got a judo black belt that reached out to me about it, and it really explained it to me on what it does, and he makes all of his teachers and anybody involved in his school, to get certified. I love the database part of it, because what Fight Sports and Cyborg were talking about doing, which was like, hey, you can report it. And I believe they're talking about forming their own Fight Sports organization where you can report something. And again, this isn't about putting them on blast, but he announced that he was going to do this. Well, hey, there's this outside organization that exists. Why would somebody from Fight Sports just report it up to Fight Sports? And you could, but you have this outside organization who is going to be a little bit less, what's the word? Biased and impressed by who, oh God, I don't want to report this to Cyborg. How is he going to look at me? I don't want him to hear my name. I don't want him to
don't want to be bullied either.
And your black belts and the people in your school. Well, this outside organization can look into it. So that's what I really liked. And then to go even a step further, the certification is like $20. Yep. I offered to pay for it for any of the Fight Sports organizations that have left, get them on good footing, get them started in a really good, on a really good track. I'm willing to pay for all of their coaches. I put it out on Instagram. Hopefully they'll reach out. Amazing. I'll pay for it. On top of that, it's free for parents.
Absolutely.
And I think that's awesome. If the parents educate themselves a little bit more about what to look out for, to really see when their child is being groomed by somebody who might be a perpetrator later in their life. Again, most of these girls, they were training with these people for years. One specifically was from age 10. She got she's getting her blue belt from this person. She's getting her, her belt promotions from this person. And, this is going to help even the parent look out for something like, maybe I'm not going to let them go in that car with that person. And maybe this isn't a healthy relationship for my child to be in, my child in their teens with this man or woman, with this person in their 20s, 30s, maybe even later in life. It's an odd position to put the parent in. Hey, well, you can't get them to jiu-jitsu, but this person's willing to pick them up. Do I let them go? Do I not let them go? There was one case where the girl was going to a show. She was invited to a show, and it wound up the coach and her. I don't know, the young girl, Mandy, I'm not going to say her last name, but she's posted online.
I just read about all
I finished the story this morning. It's crazy. It's
very in detail too. That story.
Yeah, she even recorded him after the fact, talking about it. So I mean,
now back to Safe Sport. It's also great because they have not just one program. There's different programs that you could take within that Safe Sport.
Are you registered?
Oh, yeah,
you've taken it. Okay, so when you say different programs, what specifically?
There's the one about sex abuse, and there's one about how to talk to children, and then there's one on,
are those individual certifications?
Individual.
Oh, so you could take each of them. Okay.
I think it's about like 6 or 7 of them.
Okay, all right.
It's a catalog.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, it's
good.
Cool.
When I don't know, I'm 54, and when I was growing up, it was just everybody's parents made them aware that there were weird, bad people out there that weren't interested in anything normal.
No, you're right.
And when I had been approached, a couple of times in my life by strange people, and I knew what to do. I knew how to put them off. Not even like run away or this, but so like what happened there somewhere?
When you were talking about martial arts specifically,
I'm hearing this in all parts of society. I mean, there are corporate CEOs stepping down because they're getting busted.
Position of power. Where I was going to go with these are all positions.
Yes.
We're talking about martial arts. You're in a position of power over a child. You're talking about even in corporate America, right? That's usually adult with an adult.
No, but I mean that they have backgrounds and they're finding that they're doing stuff with children in their families and
that's why I said
friends.
it's a societal problem.
Right. Yeah.
But right now,
like,
martial arts we have a problem in martial arts and it needs to stop.
Absolutely.
And a big part of that is education. The
Huge
coaches,
part.
the owners,
Yeah.
coaches, owners, and the parents. I think that's one of the parts that are missing is that parents expect to, and it's through no fault of their own. Parents are expecting that they're bringing them. I'm bringing my child to a place that's supposed to be teaching them how to combat people like that. That's supposed to, give them the guts and the courage to speak up when something like this happens. And what does that girl say in that article? It's like, I was scared to speak up. I thought he might kill me. What was I going to do? I was going to lose my job. I was going to lose my friends. I was going to lose jiu-jitsu. I don't want to lose that position of power. You're getting this. You're powerless, and what do? And exactly all of the tenets that we're supposed to be learning in jiu-jitsu or martial arts as a whole, just flattened.
That's it.
Gone. It's gone.
No.
Everything that she learned is just like the guy that's teaching me this stuff is the guy that's offending me, is the offender.
And used jiu-jitsu against her to do that, and the people she talked to were like trying to cover up for this. Yeah. That's just horrible.
Yeah,
it's just
I would recommend that everybody go find the article. I believe it's BJJ Vieira. She's actually from the woman that wrote the story is actually from Australia. I hope I have it right. I'll put it in the comments. I'll put it in the podcast description so everybody can see the article. It's a great article, well written. It's not easy to read. It's at some points I had to stop. I was like,
same here.
Man,
but it's a reality.
I've got 2 daughters, so I kind of had to stop for a second. Like it's just hard to read. Like you're reading it, and I'm just putting what if my daughter was in that situation? What would I be thinking? What would I?
Yeah, don't do those things. Don't do that.
Yeah,
because that's bad.
Well,
it drives you nuts, man.
That's where your mind
crazy.
goes.
Yeah.
Your mind goes right to like, what if this was my kid? What if it was,
absolutely.
what if this happened in my gym?
It's a quick way to become a worrywart.
Yeah,
like really badly. This is why we were saying before. You and I were having this conversation about that education. To me, everything is education. Whether it's driving, whether it's getting around in life, whether it's business, all of it relies on education. You have to have guidance. How do you know what to do? You got this blank CD in a body, has no idea what life is. We're used to life, and we forget that they're new. They don't understand shit. It's like a dog, it's like, but they're smiling because that's all they know how to do.
Right.
So
let's jump ahead. Let's do some listener questions.
Sure.
We did get some people I think that probably know you.
Okay.
So JB Whisperwolf.
Okay.
Says, hi, Zezinho. What's your favorite submission, go-to move? And how soon after an injury do you recommend doing a BJJ tournament? So there's 2 questions there. So let's go with favorite submission or go-to move.
Man, favorite submission is whatever you end up
you
in.
Give me.
Whatever you end up in, if you can go to. I like a lot to do the when your opponent is turtled up. Yeah. And I do the lapel style Peruvian necktie with the lapel.
Okay.
That's really great technique because they don't see it coming.
Okay.
That's a nice one.
Okay.
And,
go ahead. You have another one?
After how long till after an injury to train? Man, you know what? I leave that in the doctor's hands. I'm the type of person that's like, oh, I want to jump back in. I remember I had half of my thyroid taken out while I was like a purple belt or something.
Oh, wow. And
I remember I was like, I'm never going to be able to train again. I remember Liborio told me, he said, listen, man, jiu-jitsu's always going to be here. Like, you take care of yourself because we're not going anywhere. Like, you come back when it's time to come back. Yeah. And that's how I look at that.
Any major injuries you ever?
Oh, God. C4, 5, 6, and 7 herniated.
Wow.
In my neck, grade 2 AC joint separation in the left shoulder. Wow. So it comes with it. But
compete at all? Do you compete at all now? I know that you've competed.
I have competed in the past.
Do you compete?
Right now, with the police and stuff. So this is what happens. If you get injured, there goes your take-home vehicle and no off duty.
No, you can't work off duty. You're saying?
Nope.
Did you come here? Did you come here in a police car?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
No, the city would kill me
because I told them we'd go out and take pictures.
But
so you can't do like a detail or
you can't do any of that if you get injured. So I'm really careful. I do want to compete again, and I will compete again. has to be at the right tournaments and stuff. You know, there's a lot of stuff I see out there. I'm just like, oh man, you know, a lot of bias when it comes to certain teams, and the referees are the same people that are training at that team, and it's like, come on, like, really?
Right, they try to use local refs, so they don't have to ship them around the country.
Right. Well, not even that. You go to IBJJF, and you know, this guy's changing into his referee shirt, and he's like
competing, right?
After he just my teammate's over here, and I'm going to ref him now. So it's like, right now I do have it in sight, but not anytime soon.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying the show, please help us thank our sponsor at Fightback CBD. We couldn't do this without them. Head over to their website at fightbackcbd.com. Check out their growing line of CBD products and find the solution that's right for you. That's fightbackcbd.com, and get 20% off your purchase with discount code JJD. Also, check them out on social media at FightbackCBD. Now back to the show.
What is the and I apologize when I put out the questions. I always put out the questions. I put Carlson Gracie because I thought you were head coach there.
Yeah,
were you at one
I
point?
was. Yeah,
but now you're at Gracie Baja.
So
are you teaching?
No, I'm not teaching at Gracie Baja. No.
Okay.
Great coach there. He's actually like a BJJ legend. This guy. I mean, his name is Cafe Alexander Cafe Dantes. Check him out on BJJ Heroes if you can. Or Google him up. Man. Like just a different style, and nothing wrong with Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I came up under Liborio with ATT, and then there's multiple coaches there.
But they're Carlson. They're essentially
Liborio is a Carlson lineage.
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. After that, we did a thing, and Big J is a really good friend of mine. And when
did you guys know each other before?
So you
only know each other through jiu-jitsu?
Through jiu-jitsu. So what happened was, Liborio moved, and I was like, man, you know, what's going to happen here? And then I was going to Wellington to train with Shark, but it was just so far to drive, man. Just like driving to get there for an hour, and then you got to drive an hour and a half home. It's just a nightmare. So I went around to a lot of different gyms and tried them out for like a month or so. And I met Jay over there and Davey when he was training down there with
Toko.
Yeah, over there. And we just hit it off, man.
Yeah.
Like recognize real. Jay's a natural when it comes to jiu-jitsu. I mean, it's like riding a bike for him.
Yeah.
You know, and I met him, and he's like, hey man, you know, whatever happened with him, you know, with that whole situation, and I left, some stuff happened, and he's like, man, I'm just going to do my own thing. So he went and got this warehouse out in Sunrise, like no AC, just mats.
Old school.
Like it was like literally in the summertime, it was like 104 in there, just sweating. All he had was a big Home Depot fan. That was it. And he had a great striking coach. He's still around, named Kevin. Great striking guy. Stay ready. And I remember he's like, man, let's just start bringing some guys over here and start doing some jiu-jitsu together. And we did. And man, we were turning out some monsters in that place. It was crazy, you know. And then, you know, you look at Jay, he works so much, such a hard working guy. And I'll be teaching something, and I would see him here sleeping.
Really?
Standing up, like sound asleep. Jay, if you're watching, you know, he would be sleeping. And then you're like, all right, I hope he understood what's going on. 2 weeks later, he'll go in a tournament, destroy everybody, and use the technique that you showed. Even when you think he's sleeping, he's just like, it's just like the guy is just amazing.
You're making me nervous because I talked to him last night, and he was like, hey, man, you and Miguel, you should come down and train.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like, he said, I got to see what all this belt washing's about. What your jiu-jitsu is all about. You're getting your belt so dirty that you have to wash your belt. I was like, oh, no, he's going to freaking kill me. He's going to tie me to a pretzel.
I remember I showed him this
You're
one.
You're not living that down.
I showed Big J this one choke, man, and anything I show him, he'll tell you. He does it in the tournament. And I'm just like, dude, like, you know how hard that is to hit? Like, lie, and he just does it. It's just, I don't know. He figures out a way, and he does it.
So you'll train with him?
I'm still in contact with Jay, still a good friend, and he'll call me up and say, hey, I got this coming up, and like next week I'm going over there to be with him and
pans?
and get him ready a couple days. And
Okay.
Roberto will come over there and I'll hang out with him and
Okay.
do his stuff. So
Yeah.
like I just, you know, I'm with Gracie Baja now.
Yeah.
It's a great it's different. It's very structured. You know, I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And then the coach
Like
there,
there's a curriculum.
a curriculum. Like you got to know all this, and this week we're all doing this, you know, and it's just amazing. And
that this week we're all doing this. Is that like every Gracie Baja's doing that, or they're running?
I think it is. I think it's like I think everybody's doing this.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa,
because you usually see Gracie Baja post, and it's like I just saw that move, and it's like you're seeing them from all the Gracie Bajas.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The coach is, man, the guy's crazy. He's so good.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like really high level there. You know, my style, I'm just so used to that pressure and pass.
Yeah.
Pressure. But this is like all this technique now. And I'm just, wow, like, you know, but.
Feel like you're learning, like,
I'm
is it reminders or is it learning?
I learned from white belts that are like, hey, I saw Gordon Ryan do this. I saw Craig Jones do all right, show me. Whoa, like, okay.
It's the funny thing about jiu-jitsu that I always tell people, like, it's name another martial art where people are creating moves that would become part of the curriculum one day.
Right.
Or things that you see in tournaments. It's just, it evolves.
Man.
And you can't say that about any other martial art. Name one. I don't know.
You really don't.
No, I've never seen or heard of one that
totally
does that.
Agree. Totally agree, man.
The lily pad style is the lily pad style, you know, forever.
Or like Keenan with all this worm and lapel and pancake guard.
When you were coming up, was there a lot of like leg stuff? Did you learn that stuff? I just say from the waist down because I know like some of the guys that I learned from a little bit more old school kind of stayed away from the leg stuff, especially like maybe up to brown belt, at least for their students.
Yeah, it was a lot. Like we didn't do a lot of leg lock stuff. We didn't, you know. And then like this big boom happened, and it's just like, wow, you know, like this is amazing.
Why would you ignore 50% of the body?
Well, I know. I used to watch Dean Lister and those dudes. Like he's the man, you know. And it was like the guy at the time doing all those leg locks, and it was like, yeah man, this guy's the man, you know. And but now it's like everybody just wants to, you know, go for
blown out my knee once, so it makes me a little nervous. Yeah, it makes me a little nervous.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we talked about law enforcement a little bit, but we have Alex Andre Cafe Dantes.
Yeah, man. What's up,
That's
Cafe?
him? Is that Cafe? All right, he says. All right, again, we talked about it a little bit, but could you describe how important BJJ is for law enforcement, and like give us a situation where you might have used your jiu-jitsu in apprehending a suspect?
It's 100% important. I was talking with Freddie Trillo at this combative offenders we did down at the city, and it de-escalates things just so quickly. Like you don't have to sit there and choke someone out or punch someone, or at this point I won't even use like a taser if you know like really good foundation of jiu-jitsu. I mean, if you have to, but jiu-jitsu is a big de-escalation tool. That it's a tool that I think every law enforcement agency should implement jiu-jitsu. I have a friend up in Jacksonville named Brennan. He's a black belt under Toko. Great guy. He's doing a lot of stuff with law enforcement up there. And I think we were talking the other day, and he was telling me I think the Jacksonville Police Department or Sheriff's Office requires you to go through the academy and be a blue belt by the time you graduate.
That's
so
smart.
Like,
yeah,
wow,
that's pretty cool.
And that's happening in different departments. I think that's happening in Georgia. And that's the blue belt mark is like you need to have at least this.
It's so amazing.
10 times more than 100, 1,000 times more than anybody you're gonna encounter. On a call for the most part, right? I mean,
right, absolutely.
I'm preaching to the choir here.
Most of the time, I try to avoid hands-on. Always, I like to verbally use my verbal judo. I know people say that word a lot, and it works. Like like we spoke about earlier. Like just talking now. There was a situation I did have to do it.
Yeah.
It was Thanksgiving Day, and this guy like just destroyed the whole house and came after one of us, and we just easiest thing, standing Kimura. Hey man, hey, no pain, no nothing. Here you go, Kimura. Hey buddy, I tell my partner, hey, grab his other arm. He already has cuffs on him right here, and it's, at that time, it's just so easy to
percentage wise. How many of your comrades, your officers that you work with, how many are training jiu-jitsu?
Man,
not enough. Definitely not enough.
I got where I'm at a good solid 3, if that. You know, but yeah. Are
you in there preaching? Are you in there like, hey guys, come to school?
I have, and I know our training department wants it done. Like they love it. I can't speak on behalf of them and everything, but I see it's going to be coming. Man.
I feel like as guys like you, as people age out or retire, right, and the younger guys come into power, it's going to be like this should be the norm. Like it's normal for you, so you're going to preach it later,
right?
Right now, they have to seek it on their own, right? I mean, for the most part, they would have to go seek it on their own. Are you ever in situations where you're like, well, you're not going to be able to handle it. Let me get in there because
we work as a team, and then they know like. So at work, I got a nickname. The old, like you were saying, the old timers. Yeah, they nickname me at work. They call me Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai. These are the old guys. Hey, Cobra Kai, come over here and do this. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, really, call me Cobra Kai right now. So.
Like it's like sending the pit bull kind of like send them in.
Call Cobra Kai. He'll take care of this. But more so because they know my background in behavioral health.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
They're like, oh man, just he'll go talk to him.
Yeah.
So
like very comfortable in those situations.
Very comfortable, you know. So
I could see in my mind. I just picture in my mind like people be like, yeah, go ahead, you go, you go take this one. So all right, so thank you for the question, Alex. Yeah, so we've got let's see, old school taking you back. That's the handle on IG.
Okay.
Zezinho, moving forward through these trying times as a country and as our brothers and sisters, kind of incomplete sentence. What quality trait about yourself are you looking on the most? I guess it's saying like, what attribute do you feel you have the most that helps you in your daily life? And what overall lesson has BJJ taught you in your life? It was a little bit of an incomplete sentence there. I'm sorry.
So BJJ has taught me multiple things. It taught me to be patient, number one. Because, when you're like in the bottom of somebody's north-south, breathing all that hot gi air, you got to be patient. That's one of my favorites. Man. You got to breathe, be patient, wait to explode. So I learned patience a lot with like jiu-jitsu, man. I feel like this, and I listen to your guys' podcasts all the time, and like you say, I tell my wife to talk to me after I go to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It makes life so much better. It really does. I mean, my wife will tell you, my wife's like all about it. Like she's my ride or die. You know what I mean? So she knows.
She ever trained? Do you ever get her to train?
She has, and she has some pretty bad show-your-old gis, and I'm just like, yo, you're not training right.
Funny enough, I got one. Man. I got somebody to send me one for free one time from my wife. Yeah. I tried to give it to Bo because my wife doesn't want to wear it. Bo didn't want to wear it either. I brought it back home.
Oh man.
So I just put I put some mats in my garage. We just moved into a new house. So I just put some mats down. So I'm getting her close. She likes kickboxing. Okay, that's her thing. She understands jiu-jitsu now because she fell in love with something that she fell in love with a martial art just as much as I love jiu-jitsu. She can't live without kickboxing.
That's amazing.
She hates it when she can't get to it after work, and like that she can only go on weekends sometimes. But now she understands. So we put the mats in the garage, getting a punching bag put in, something to hang from the ceiling for her. That's where I started too. That was my love. Came from boxing and kickboxing. So, but now I feel I got her on the mat for the first time. Okay, she's out there, she's training with me, and we're just doing our little warm ups and stretches and stuff in the garage. I'm hoping that she'll take the opportunity.
Yeah,
I don't think she realizes. My wife is definitely like. She doesn't realize something bad can happen until the bad thing happens, and then she goes, "Oh, I should have." Okay,
right.
We got to be prepared for that. Or if it happens to somebody, she knows, I must be. I'm trying to tell her the jiu-jitsu that I can show you and the basics that I can show you. Like you should take advantage of having somebody that loves jiu-jitsu. You should be training with me. My daughter, 17, going away to college. they want nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. They don't realize that
I'm
resource.
in the same boat with
Yeah,
you, man.
they don't realize the resource that they have in us, and I feel like I'm a little bit closer to just showing her the basics. I think she thinks that I'm going to treat her like she sees me rolling in the gym, you know, that we're going to be flipping each other over, rolling over, just sweating in her eye. Like, no, I want to show you these basics of, you know, how to protect yourself, you know, talk to her about using her voice and screaming if you're attacked and run, and listen, do this and run away. So I'm getting, I feel like I'm getting closer,
Right.
but I'm still, you know, she's still just saying, this is jiu-jitsu, I don't want to know jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
Give me a box, you know, I want to hit the bag. So anyway, I feel like I'm getting closer with her,
I
but
feel
you have
you
the
on
same,
that.
you have the
Yeah,
same.
my
She,
wife
go ahead.
my wife's like a black belt in yoga. Like this
Yeah.
lady gets bent on. I'm just like,
Oh, my God, she's
do this
great.
stuff, you know? And then like she's afraid that she don't want to get smashed by like a big guy like you or me. Just,
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want to. I'm scared of that. And I'm just like, man, I got to get you in with like some girls to,
Yeah.
you know, like that. You guys
And
can
she
start-
should know that she could
you
say
know.
no if somebody. No, I don't want to roll with you. I'm just
Right.
going to roll with the girls. Like you're allowed to say no. I mean, most schools, right? You're allowed to say no. You know, maybe sometimes people are a little nervous. Like, I'm not going to say no to my coach.
Right,
Like,
right.
I've never said no to my coach, but I could understand if I was a coach and a female said, "I'm really not comfortable rolling
Right.
with you.
Absolutely.
I'll watch the move, but can I just roll with the girls?" Again, one of the things I loved about where I used to train and where I expect to go back, I'll say, like, everybody thinks like, "Oh, you just left and you're never going to train again." My fight sports location in Coral Springs, where I've trained, which had zero problems through all
Right,
this.
of
We don't
course.
have any problems there. I was in touch with my coach when I made my announcement. He knew that I was going to say what I was going to say before I said it
Yep.
with Miguel when we said, you know, he's not going to train at VRMA and I wasn't going to train at Fight Sports. He did not change the name because I said I wasn't going to go. He did the right thing, and he is now Jiu-Jitsu for Life. It was an old name that he had. He's back to Jiu-Jitsu for Life. They're no longer affiliated with Fight Sports, from what I understand in the conversation that I've had with him. As a matter of fact, he messaged me right while we were waiting on you. He messaged me about his Facebook page. I'm in marketing, so he's like, "Hey, I can't get my Facebook name to change, and what do I do?" And I gave him some tips on that. He's not mad at me. I'm not mad at him. I hold no grudges against him. I felt like it was the right thing for me. And since he decided to change his name, not because I came out and said anything, because it was the right thing to do, I fully anticipate being back at that location, Jiu-Jitsu for Life in Coral Springs.
So
I'm excited to go back. I have not trained because that, for one, and I just felt like I needed to take a break. It was a lot of emotional stuff that I wound up getting invested in.
Absolutely.
Because of the podcast, because of what happened, because I know people who have been assaulted. I had to take a step back for a second and take a breath. I told both. I felt like I've been breaking up with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
That feeling in the stomach when you
yeah.
when you know
It's
you're
like,
fighting with even your wife. You're fighting, or you break up with a girl. That pit in the stomach. I felt that way, and I've never had that feeling even when I blew out my knee from jiu-jitsu before.
Right.
So I'm a little mad at jiu-jitsu right now. I'm just
I
mad
totally
at it all.
understand.
I'm like, I'm not doing jiu-jitsu right now, but I've been working out. I'm hitting the weights, and I'm going to strangle some motherfuckers.
Hey, sometimes that's when you got to take a break. You know, it's you have to.
First
take a
time
break
I needed
from
a
this.
mental break from jiu-jitsu.
Right.
It's usually the other way around.
Right. I
But,
get it. I
you know.
get it, man. You have a great coach, by the way. I've known him a long time.
Yeah.
Great.
Did you
dude.
guys fight at a fight to
Fight
win?
to win.
You
We
did
did.
fight at a fight to
Mhm.
win. You looked
did.
from. That was a few years ago.
How about
so
this? I knew Felipe when he was training at Lotus Club.
Lotus Club.
Before
Never even heard of it.
Ask him.
Really?
With Armando Conde.
Really?
Before all this fight sports and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, man.
Oh, wow.
Old school.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. I actually won at his tournament. He did the Jiu-Jitsu for Life tournament.
Oh, so you know,
He
okay,
got
you know
one
all
of the
these names
gold
sound
medals
familiar.
somewhere from
Yeah.
there. It's great. I think it was
Yeah.
a blue belt.
Yeah.
Blue belt,
Oh, I didn't even know. Well, you know, I guess it's a small community.
Super nice
I know
guy,
when
man.
I was at that fight to win. I was
Okay.
at that fight to win at the
Mhm.
War Memorial, right?
Memorial.
So I remember that. I remembered you. I was like kind of far back. So you know, you can't see the faces. But then when I started to look at stuff, I'm like, he looks so familiar. I'm like, I think that's the guy that fought my coach.
Yeah, man.
That damn lockdown, right?
Yeah, lockdown, man. Lockdown,
That's my
Crazy.
north-south, and that lockdown,
Lockdown.
obviously coming from, training under him. And I have, some back issues as well. And that's a big part of his game is that pulling guard and that lockdown because he's got back issues. So I've just been like, well, I'm going to do that too. And I've got this resource here. So I love that. I love that.
I believe he was a police officer too for a while too.
He was, I think he was BSO. I
yeah.
think he started as a corrections officer, but I guess I don't know, like they let you go out in the street at some point. I think you could kind of, it's really two different departments, right?
Transition.
You have to, you have to go. I believe at some point he was out on the streets as like Broward Sheriff. But yeah, he was, he has that background as well.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. And it's crazy. His wife's really good too.
Again, I love them to death. If you said you've listened to the podcast, I've always touted.
Of course.
Even before all this mess, like it's just always in my mind. We're a great school, and it's great for women and girls because we've got this husband-wife team, and there's always that female presence. Again, as a father of daughters, it's always something that I think about. You know, like, hey, you're going to be okay there. Watch this. Don't do this. We go on cruises every year, and I'm always talking to my girls like, you put a drink down, you walk away, you go get another drink.
That's right.
It's paid for. Don't put anything down. I don't care the age. Don't go anywhere with anybody. Don't walk into a room. I don't care how young or old. You don't go anywhere. You're having these conversations, and then going to this gym, I was just always like, this is a great location. I've preached it. Every time somebody asks me, they're like, hey, you do some karate. I'm like, well, actually, once you get through the whole explanation of what jiu-jitsu is, I usually tell them, I always say, if you're not near me, find there aren't a lot in South Florida, but someplace that does, has a bully-proof program or some type of bullying program, like they advertise it as a bullying program, or just has a big kids program. If they have a big kids program, it's probably because it's good that they have a good program and more parents are putting them in. Great after-school programs, and that's where Felipe thrives in his kids program.
Great kids program. Yeah. I've known that, yeah.
Great kids program. They got a van that picks the kids up from school, brings them in, helps them with their homework. He knocked down some walls recently to add some more mats. Amazing. So the school's gotten bigger. So I fully anticipate being back. Good. I miss it.
Good, man.
I'll be in there soon. And again, for anybody that thinks that I'm at odds with my coach,
I know.
Furthest thing.
Of course.
Again, like I was talking to him. He was in Brazil, out of the country, and we were talking about this. And we were already talking about, hey, again, marketing back. Hey, how do I change this? And what do you think about this name for my IG? Like I was fully engaged in talking to him through this. So although I haven't been in the school, and I know a lot of my teammates are like, hey, where have you been? Are you okay? And we're good, and I will be back, and I hope. I think I'm going to train next week.
Right thing to do with all this,
it was hard, man.
The right thing to do.
It was hard. I do wish that more people stood up.
Absolutely.
I get a lot of messages now from people that are like telling me about schools that are going to transition out. Again, I'm not throwing any stones. I know people are going to transition out from fight sports, and I know that there are other things coming from other schools. I'm hearing the stories. I love Tortillas on Instagram. I know she's involved with Fight to Win. She's been putting out stuff. They outed one guy already, and I think it was a show-year-old that dropped him.
Yeah,
he got Jackson Souza got dropped by,
by the way, those guys at show-year-old are freaking great.
Yeah.
Man. That's my family over there.
Oh, yeah, you know them?
Love those guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm part of that family thing they got going on.
So. What specifically, what do you mean?
They'd say, like, you're part of the family, so, like, every so often they're sending me all kinds of stuff. Oh, that's awesome, yeah. Man. But you know what? It's great, man. They're just super nice guys. The owner there, Bear, my boy Marco, AJ. I mean, these guys are just great guys. All Guam too. They're all great dudes.
Of all the gis, this is I've worked with. We've got sponsors and people that put out gis. I know Show Your Roll is like when I first came into the game, it was always like it's hard to find Show Your Roll gis. Like they sell out of them, right? And like so every
seconds,
right? And then it's like you can't get your hands on a Show Your Roll gi. I think it's I can remember way back. I'm like, okay, Show Your Roll, okay. I like to look for sold out. Can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, I love those guys.
Yeah,
man. They do a lot. They
Show
do a lot of stuff for people. Man.
Very cool. All right, so we've got. Let me see. We got some time for a couple more questions here. Man. Let's see. Okay, we got a question from Roberto. Let's use this one. Okay.
My boy Roberto.
So,
what's up, man?
He says, I have 2 questions for Zezinho. He says, outside of Master Liborio, who is... Well, okay, you've trained under Master Liborio. Who trained under Master Carlson Gracie.
Right.
Please describe what makes Carlson Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu different from all other forms of BJJ.
Jesus, I feel that's a hard one, Roberto. Put me on blast. I love jiu-jitsu, period, regardless of what lineage it is, to be honest with you. For me, I feel like the Carlson style is more pressure. Like, just, man, those guys are grinding out. And I remember back in the old days when I was, watching, like, even before me getting into like the old Carlson dudes back in the UFC that was coming out. Yeah. Like, these guys were always so jacked, man. I mean, they were just like, they looked like Greek statues walking around. They really did. They were just like so big. I don't know if you ever seen Liborio back when he was young. That guy was just like,
he's he's got that frame, that big, thick frame, so right?
I feel like they did a lot with like lifting weights and working out and doing all that to implement into.
And those guys from the old school, like, it was frowned upon to like go to different schools or to get another look, right? It was like you're a crayon, or just like, oh, you're leaving the team. What are you doing? You can't do that. Don't show our secrets. And people probably didn't want to let you in either. I hear it's different now.
Yeah,
it's different now. Unless you're like a straight up competition team, like a small group like the Danaher Death Squad, like you even see people come in, but I can understand in those circumstances when it's a small team and you're competing on all of these big stages. Like, okay, we don't want to give away our secrets. But when you're talking about gyms and local tournaments, I mean, I think it's great to get a different look. And if you want to get a different look over here, then you got to be able to like welcome people into 100%. Your school as well.
Liborio always told me, he goes, Zezinho, learn as much as you can from everybody that you can. The good thing coming up at the Coconut Creek location, we had so many people coming in from all over. I mean, I remember one time we were in a class and they had like 16 black belts there one day. I was just like, God, like what the hell is, and they're all from different lineages and you just learn so much from,
everybody. I mean, I like as a purple belt, hopefully I'll be seeing my brown belt in this next year. Pandemic and the knee screwed things up for me. I probably would have been there already. I up until now, like I always felt weird about going to another school. Mm-hmm. I'd ask, I didn't do it often. I think probably the first time I did it after training with Felipe was we were shooting a Warriors Next documentary and his AC went. I invited the guys to do it at our location. Mm-hmm. The AC went and I went to Drew's. But it was a perfect fit because Felipe wasn't, in the military here in the U.S. and Drew was, he's a Marine, and now I hooked him up with these guys, and they filmed some segments, and they did some interviews, and it was great. So then, like a couple of weeks after that, I went back a few times to Drew's. So like that was the first time I've really trained anywhere else, unless I did open mats where when I first started, I went with my coach. I actually went with my coach. He'd be like, guys, Saturday we're going over to this school, and we'd all go, and then the next week they'd come to us. Mm-hmm. So I experienced that, and it was great because it's like, okay, we did jiu-jitsu all week, and now we're testing it against guys that don't know what we did this week.
Right, exactly.
We'd still maybe like do a class, learn a move, but then we'd roll, and now you're like, oh, this shit doesn't work on that guy. Right. Oh, he knows the answer to this, or hey, he's never seen it, and like, oh wow, this can work in a tournament 100%. Or on the street, or in a fight situation.
Like coming up in this, especially South Florida, it's like so big in jiu-jitsu now. It's starting to get like California. Like there's a jiu-jitsu school on every corner just popping up now. Yeah. And I feel like you make so many friends in this community. Like it's just like, hey, my buddy has a school. I'm go say what's up to my buddy. Yeah. He invited me over there now. So all this like Creonche thing, like it is what it is. I've been to a bunch of different schools, after Master Liborio left. It was really hard for me to find a school to stick with. It really
can we ask? I think he left
because his daughter Bella is blind, and they have one of the best programs for blind children up in Orlando. Okay, so he had to do this for his family. You know, so when he left, it was like, man. This
it wasn't like a bad blood thing there at ETT.
No.
I didn't know if there was some politics going on there and problems.
No, I mean it's jiu-jitsu. There's always something going on.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'll let you answer that, but I was gonna say every black belt I've ever spoken to, no politics. I don't get involved in politics. Everybody gets involved in politics.
Everybody has some shit going
once you're in this, and I know this guy doesn't like that guy, and that guy doesn't like this guy, and I don't like it, But go ahead. So he moved up to Orlando.
He moved, and it was like, man, what am I gonna do? So I went to Shark. And I mean, this guy, amazing.
Is that ATT Palm Beach?
Wellington.
Wellington. That my parents live right there. I've seen it.
Man, I learned like my level went like this.
Yeah,
like I was just like, but he's like for competition school.
Yeah,
you know, like this is one of the greatest coaches I've ever met in my life, and very what's the word I'm looking for? He's all about like loyalty and just very like, you know, very hard, but I learned
good training.
A lot. Great training.
That's awesome.
But then, you know, like it was just hard for me driving an hour and 40 minutes to get there, train, and then drive all the way back home. And it was like, oh,
that's a camping.
You're saying like from, we're not going to say what department, but you're driving from down here.
I'm just driving from my house to get there.
Oh,
it's just a night. So like, but I will give Shark some credit too also, because I remember one night we went to this big American Top Team gala, and I was sitting down next to him, and I brought, when I was dating my wife at the time, and I remember he came up, he's sitting next to me, he goes, "You need to marry her like yesterday." And I was like, yes, Master Shark, whatever you want to say. You need to marry her like yesterday. And we ended up going out to Vegas for a World Master.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, Elvis is down there. Just, you want to get married? She's like, "Let's go." And I was like, "For real?" And she was like, "Yeah." So we got married on the Mayweather-McGregor fight.
Oh, really?
Weekend.
Oh, so this is a newlywed.
World Master. Yeah. And, you know, we just went to Elvis Chapel and got married by Elvis.
Is that a couple of years? Is that like 2 years?
No, 4 years. As
four?
the
4 years?
26 was 4 years.
I'm 2 years in. I just got married to
I'm
December
22 years.
God, wow.
22 years.
Nice,
yeah.
man. God
yeah,
bless.
the fact that I've been married for 22 years and she didn't try to kill me yet,
Mm-hmm.
I did something right. Because I'm intolerable. I am like... It requires a super.
We're going to do
person.
our speed round, but we're really going to do it as a speed round because we got about 5 minutes. Okay. So, preference: gi or no gi?
Both. I'm a gi guy, but I'm starting to love no gi, man.
Okay.
So
takedown or pull guard?
I'm loving the takedowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big dude.
Just love the takedowns. I love watching it.
Note to self: stay away from you. Are you a fan of like watching like for grappling?
Absolutely. I'm watching Fight to Win tonight.
Who's your favorite competitor? Do you have somebody that you really like to watch, either famous or kind of coming up?
Man, I gotta say all them Gordon Ryan and you know, the Danaher Death Squad. Those guys
are fun to watch,
monsters, man.
Other than achieving the rank of black belt, what is your ultimate goal in the world of martial arts or jiu-jitsu?
To give back to everyone what Liborio showed me. Like, he was just so nice to me. There was sometimes, I'm going to say it now, that I had never paid a gym membership. He would tell him, "Hey, Zezinho, he's going through some stuff. He's not going to pay this time," you know? And I just want to just give that back and help people. And that's what Big J's doing as well. Like, you know, in his school, he's taking a lot of people in, getting programs and saying, "Here, man, like, let's get you into this."
That's awesome. Hopefully we'll be doing more with Big J too.
Man.
What would you be doing if you hadn't become a law enforcement officer?
Man, you know what? Probably working at the hospital.
Still working? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And did you ever have any other dreams of doing anything else when you were growing up?
Teaching jiu-jitsu and
that. Yeah. Before jiu-jitsu,
well, before jiu-jitsu.
Like growing up. Like I wanted to be a fireman. I wanted to be a cop like my dad.
Like a metal band or something. You know? like a Megadeth band or something.
I wanted to be a pastry chef. It didn't.
Okay. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you in the gym or even as a police officer on the street?
That happened to me?
Craziest thing.
Craziest thing, God, there's so many crazy things that have happened.
Give me one.
Getting whipped in the foot by Hector Lombard's Indiana Jones whip one day.
Really?
In the gym. He was bringing that thing around us. I was like, what the hell? He hit my foot.
He's a bad dude.
Yeah, man. Love that guy.
All right. Any regrets as it relates to your martial arts journey? Anything that you wish you would have done differently?
Start sooner.
We all
God, I wish I could have started like when I was like 12, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very popular statement.
But you know what? I say this for myself. If I would have, I did karate, like I did a little bit of martial arts, and I always quit. It took me being an adult and realizing, you know, like to fall in love with it and to realize the benefits. I didn't need it. I probably needed it, but I didn't know I needed it. And when I found it when I was 41, I was like, this is... I need this, and the release of that stress that I was holding, and the emotional. My first gym, he was a Marine, and he was in law enforcement as well, and he would have veterans come in and they wouldn't pay. But sometimes we would just be sitting there stretching, and like for 2 hours, I'd just be in this circle of these veterans talking. I've never served, but I would be talking to these guys, asking them questions. I have a story with Drew where he told a crazy story about something that happened to him, and it's resonated. I could tell the story verbatim myself because it stuck in my head that much. But we would just sit around and just talk, and these guys they needed that as much as they needed jiu-jitsu.
Everybody needs to get it out. 2 hours. 2 hours.
We didn't nothing. No jiu-jitsu.
100%.
We were in our gis, just stretching and talking, and that's what these guys needed.
Absolutely.
Sometimes those guys, I could smell the liquor on their breath, like they got drunk or they were drinking, and then they came, and it was just like they didn't drink for 2 hours. They were like they needed to talk to somebody, and he was great with that. He was great about inviting them in, and so I hats off to my first coach.
Bring your confessions to your brothers.
Yeah.
Because they'll understand.
All right? So I usually would do the drum roll, but we started talking about the belt washing. You're a non-belt washer. We got that. So we're going to leave it at, I'm going to give you a chance to, you mentioned Shory Roll. Any shout-outs that you want to give?
If you don't mind.
Go. It's your time.
First of all, my professor, Cafe, man, like running this squad hard right now.
Yeah.
He's great for Gracie Baja, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Shout out to Liborio. Shout out to my boy Marco, Bear, and AJ at Show Your Roll. And all the survivors with what has happened right now in this jiu-jitsu community in this trying time. Like, thank you for coming forward. I know it's hard. I know
it's going to be tough for a little. It's going to be tough for a while.
Very tough, but I want to say thank you for you guys are not victims, you're survivors, and that's how I look at it.
And I'm going to just add to that, if I can. I'm going to say I really do wish. I said this earlier in the episode. I really do wish that some people would be a little bit more vocal.
Yep.
I'm not telling you got to leave your gym. I'm not telling you got to do what I did, but coming out and maybe making a statement or saying something. There are some big personalities in our world, not just in fight sport, like throughout the jiu-jitsu community. Yep. I think we would all benefit from hearing from some of those people. And I encourage them to come out and whether it's a post on social media or a video or a statement or say something. I think it would be helpful. And we've got to get to a healing. But I don't think we can get there because I think there's a little bit more that's going to be coming out with people like I Love Tortillas. I don't know her actual name. I'm sorry that I don't. But with people like that, saying, hey, "Listen, come to me, and I'm gonna bring your story to the masses." I think that we have a lot more that's going to come out.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And shout out to Mike Cipriani, amazing guy. Gamblers. Tex Johnson, and and Mo.
Star-Lord.
Mo is the man.
Star-Lord is Josh Ludek. Ludek, right?
Yep.
Josh Ludek he's Star-Lord, right?
So these
Star-Lord
guys,
on IG.
Yeah. Shout out to all
They've been doing a great job, and I don't know if I would have said things the same way that these guys have been saying it, but they definitely haven't just let this, get what swept under the rug. Yeah,
that's good.
All right, listen, I'm going to give a couple of shout outs real quick. Sir. I apologize in advance for going through this quickly. All right, shout out to our podcast Patreon sponsors, including Carlson Gracie Winter Haven up in Winter Haven, Florida, cgwinterhaven.com, at Carlson Gracie _Winter Haven on Instagram. Carlson Gracie Broward County in North Lauderdale.
Amazing.
CarlsonGracieBrowardCounty.com, at Carlson Gracie Broward County on IG. John Way Martial Arts in Plantation, Florida. JohnWayMartialArts.com, at John Way Martial Arts on IG. Shout out to our newest podcast patron, Jebediah Barra. Thank you for joining. Also, Robert Walker, Frank House, Woolsey Rivera, Boa Athletics. You can check them out on IG at BOA_athletics. Michael Pixley Jr., Jason Smiley, Britt Tavar, CJ Carroll, Mission 22, Chuck Reddor, and Roberto Santiago. We thank you all for your support. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit patreon.com/Jiu-Jitsu Dummies. You can join and automatically be entered to win up to $100 in Jiu-Jitsu swag every month. I am behind on the awarding. It is coming. My bad, but I will catch up. Usually let a couple of months accrue, and then I give something out. I'll award it. It's coming, guys. Stick with me. At Jiu-Jitsu Dummies on Instagram for all the ways to watch, listen, and support. You can donate to our scholarship program where we award one-year scholarships to, I think we're going to be sticking with the kids given the current state of affairs. We're going to stick to our younger athletes and competitors. Check out the podcast store at jiu-jitsu-dummies.shop. You get 15% off with code JJD. Ranked rash guards, tees, backpacks, coffee mugs. Oh, a little something for you.
Oh, man.
Got a mug and a T-shirt in there for you. I guessed extra large. I think I was right.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
We want to thank Weedify. Oh, let me finish up. Podcast store, get 50% off with code JJD. Free shipping on orders over $50. We want to thank Weedify for all their support and all they do for the veterans and the jiu-jitsu community. For those of you who don't know, they provide therapeutic relief to disabled combat veterans through jiu-jitsu. I will be at this gala in Texas on September 18th with my wife. I'm very excited. Sponsors, there's still opportunities for sponsors, or you can donate at WeDefyFoundation.org if you just want to donate.
Just put your logo on his forehead. And
yeah. Yeah, rent this space. Last but not least, again, shout out to Fightback CBD. Get 20% off your CBD order at fightbackcbd.com with code JJD. You can check me out again at Uncle Milty BJJ on IG, or I usually am the one answering all of the comments and questions on at Jiu-Jitsu Dummies on our main IG for the show. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming, brother.
Thank you, guys.
We'll do it again. We'll do 2 hours like we normally do.
Appreciate
Sorry
you.
we got to run. Nope. But thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Stay safe. Us. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, man.